Breaking down Arizona Wildcats softball, the Wildcats are in the NCAA tournament for a 35th consecutive year. They are headed to Columbia, Missouri. I am joined by Kim Doss from AZ Desert Swarm. And Kim, I tell you, they made us sweat this thing out earlier on Sunday during the selection show. The Wildcats having to wait till the final 8 teams to find out that they were in this team. When I saw, though, that Texas A&M got in right away, I thought, well, I think the Wildcats have a good shot. Texas A&M out of the SEC had 18 losses. I said, if they're going to take an 18-loss Texas A&M team, how can they not take a 16-loss U of A team with the history that the Wildcats have in softball?
Well, it's both history, and then the Pac-12 was the second-ranked conference in RPI, even with the losing record, an 8-16 Pac-12 record. And then you add in that they've been there 34 straight years. I think it would have been pretty hard for the committee to keep them out.
I mean, this was a 2-minute period where we went from expecting the ultimate disappointment and this team not getting in and the streak ending to not only them getting in, but I thought, man, they're in and they've got a favorable draw to potentially get to the super regionals.
Oh, absolutely. They'll be in a regional where every team has lost at least 18 games. And they're one of 3 who have lost 20. They're the only one who has a losing record in their conference. But you can't really complain about the draw you're given when you kind of sneaked in by the skin of your teeth anyway, but this is a great draw. They've got some teams I think they match up well with. And I don't think Caitlin Lowe could have asked for anything better considering the way the season went.
And you look at this team, and I remember the first game I went to this year, my first thought, Kim, was they don't really have the pitching to go deep. They don't have, you got to love the grit that you get from a Hannah Bowen, and Devin Netz is solid, but they don't really have that top line ace that you see with some of the great teams in college softball, like your Oklahomas and your Floridas and those types of teams. But again, they still have a pretty solid offense. And I loved the way that they played that 7th inning on Saturday. Even though they lost to Stanford, I think that's got the way that they've got to have the mentality going in to this tournament. Take advantage with those slap hitters you've got. Janelle Miono at the top, and then Jasmine Parrish-Cheek at the bottom, turning it over to the top in those instances to set up the big boppers that you have in this lineup with your Ali Skaggs and your Charlize Palacioses and your Carly Scupin.
Absolutely. Going in, we knew pitching was going to be difficult, and Caitlin Lowe kind of alluded to that in the first media day that when we met her at the beginning of the season. But you saw them fight through, and you saw Bowen fight through till the very end. She only gave up 3 earned runs, even though her team had been run ruled the night before. And she had a bad night Friday. She had kind of struggled. So she bounced back on that Sunday game. And then on your offense, I think the most important thing is seeing Scupin finally putting some things together. She's had some difficulties in Pac-12 play. She had dropped her Pac-12 average to 167 at one point, and she's now got it back up above 200 in conference play. It's well over 3 because she was hitting 500 going in. But you've really got to rely on that offense, and it's got to be power. That's pretty much all they score with is power. Once in a while, they'll get one of those line drives or hit a grounder up the middle, but it's mostly been that home run.
Yeah, that's why I think those other girls are very important because, as we've seen, history will dictate in the postseason, the home run numbers start to come way down once you start to face that good pitching every single game.
Absolutely. And, one thing I like about this regional for Arizona is, they're going to be facing probably Sydney Sickles to start with Illinois, but she's got almost a 2 ERA. She's not one of those who's, a sub 1 or right around 1. So there's a little bit of room to work there with her. And they've got Tori McQueen at 238 if she has to come in. So I think Illinois has good pitching, but I think it's pitching Arizona's seen before and that they might be able to do something against.
And when you look at Caitlin Lowe, Kim, first season here, what kind of grade would you give her? I think it's been, I don't think there's been a lot bad that I've seen from the coaching staff. I think they've been very solid in what they've done. I think, again, it's like any other situation when you're talking about college sports, you've got to get the right pieces to begin to go forward. I would call it at least a solid B minus coaching job by Caitlin Lowe in this first season.
I'd give her a B plus. I think that she's learned a lot along the way, but I also think she came in with enough experience to do a good job. She was already in the ear of these young women. You know, that they only brought in 3 freshmen and 2 transfers. So these were players who knew her, who she had recruited. They were ready to be led by her. And I think one thing I've thought about a little bit is maybe they should have done where they change pitchers more often within a game, like they did on Friday against Stanford, and like they did against Cal last Sunday or Thursday in the first game against Stanford and against Cal last Sunday. And I think that's something she's learned as she's gone on, how to make those decisions, when to make them. And that's what I want to see from her, is not only she started off as a B, but she learned. What else can you expect from her?
Absolutely. Who do you think, give me your wild card in this regional, maybe one player who's kind of, been below the radar, who could be an impact to helping this Wildcat team potentially advance to another super regional?
It's got to be Izzy Pacho.
Yeah, she's been swinging that bat well.
The defense, she's got some quick feet, and she goes all out. She made some great plays to save runs this weekend, and she's hitting, she's hitting well over 300. I mean, what can you expect from her? And she doesn't get any glory. People think of her as a player who was only a pinch hitter, and she's not that anymore.
All right, Kim Doss, Arizona Desert Swarm. Tell folks how they can follow your work.
Well, you can find us at azdesertswarm.com. Cover all Arizona sports, and then I'm on Twitter at KimDoss71.
She is a champion of all of the women's sports here at the University of Arizona. Does a great job of covering that. Kim, I appreciate you taking a few moments to join us tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks, David.
All right, the Wildcats are on to the NCAA tournament for a 35th consecutive year. They'll head to Missouri, where they will face Illinois first, and then potentially the hosts, Tigers or Missouri State. Stay with us for our continuing coverage of Arizona Wildcat softball.